I never really paid attention to this, and I apologize to you all that I've never really, any of my videos for this channel, I've never really said, hey, welcome or thank you or for watching my videos or anything. And I was looking at my other channel, I go, why did I never do that for this channel? I think I get so focused on trying to explain my story that I never really got into making this like a regular show, like some of the others, like Bongino. They have all the introductions, and they get their little makeup on and their, all that. Never done any of that, so I'm just shooting it straight to you. I'm just curious about something. I was wondering if y'all ever, if y'all realize that, since I didn't really know the truth about Star Wars until 1999. I started to remember what happened, but up until then, I loved Star Wars. After I learned the truth, which was in 2000, I guess you can understand that I actually hated them after that. When I remembered the truth, I started hating Star Wars. I hate them all now, and I loved them when I was a kid, But learning the truth can kind of do that to you. But I was sitting here thinking, and if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I've shown you that he took stuff from like everywhere and put it in Star Wars. And a lot of the work, a lot of the material came out of Edmund Hamilton and Lee Brackett's books. They were husband and wife, if you don't know. She was called the Queen of Space Opera, and he was called... I don't know if they ever really called him the king, but he was one of the pioneers of space opera, and he used to do a lot of the comic strips and comic books, DC Comics for Superman and everything. So, and he'd write the stories for him. So, there is, they have a huge body of work, and a lot of people, and unless you don't realize, you go back and see another, a video that I sometimes tell people to watch it's called Did Lee Brackett Ghostwrite Star Wars? It's on a channel called the Star Killers channel, and if you haven't ever gone over there to watch it, you should go over and watch it, because that's going to be an eye-opener for you alone, much less than when you start learning what I had to tell you and my direct association to him through his cousin. And that's, and I'll explain again to people who don't know this, but he stole Jedi Knights in the Force from me when I was 7 in 1974. I lived around the corner from his cousin, Jack Hamburger. He lived at 5707 Robinwood Road in Louisville, Kentucky, 40218. I lived at 5513 Riata Drive Boulevard. They changed the name somehow. I don't know if it's Drive or Boulevard now. I lived at 5513 Riata, and we were 400 and something feet apart. He got me to the house, got me on the phone, took Jedi Knights, told me he was going to make me rich and famous, and never did anything. Again, and I'll tell you, I'm not after his money. I don't want his money. I'm going to expose the truth, and I'm going to expose him, because he did that to a little kid. He never cared, because I was a poor kid, very poor. My parents got divorced, man. I lived through some of the worst neighborhoods, and I was often poorer than any of the other kids in the neighborhood. So, again, you take this talk about privilege and you put it where the sun doesn't shine, buddy. I'm going to tell you that right now. But I've never in my life known privilege, okay? And just this right here should be an example. Because if I had so much privilege, then how was this man able to rob me and take something and tell me he was going to make me rich and famous? Again, I don't care about his money. He can keep it. Again, it's blood money now. I don't want it. But I'm going to tell the truth, and I'm going to expose him before it's over with. And I was sitting here thinking about all the stuff he had taken from all these different science fiction things and this and that. And I said, well, he never got nothing from Dune, though, did he? And then all of a sudden something dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute. Something like clicked in there, and I was like, I started thinking about something. Do you remember the Baron? Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. He was taking the spice melange in the movie Dune, okay? But what they don't really do in that movie as much as it happened in the book is that he's transforming, I think he either transform into a navigator or a worm. I don't know which, or in that order, or what order. But he was eventually going to be a worm. Vladimir Harkonnen, because he was, the spice is the worm is the spice. I don't know if you ever seen Dune, but I started putting it together and I was like, wait a minute. What is Jabba the Hutt? I think he's a worm, dude. Look at him. Never put it together, and I was like, maybe he is the same. Maybe he's a worm from Dune. I started thinking about that. I was like, wait a minute. Because he didn't, of all the characters, I mean, there was a lot of weird characters. I gotta admit, there was a lot of weird characters, but putting Satan in the cantina, you know, was a pretty much one of the first clues we all missed. And then nobody knew that Yoda was a demonic entity from an old codex called the Voynich manuscript, but he looks dead like that demonic entity from the Voynich manuscript. But hey, it's just the point. I mean, I wanted to make this other video and bring this up, and I'm gonna put these pictures up and show you again that indeed, man, is that what that is? It sure looks like it. It sure looks like it. I mean, so maybe he didn't miss anybody. You know, there probably can be things we'll find of things like that really were stolen from something that wasn't really sci-fi. So I don't know. I know the music was taken from Gustav Holst and King's Row. What's his name? The guy who did King's Row. The very opening sequence of Star Wars. Right there. But then it goes a different direction with Star Wars. So only that first little part, and then the part when he's getting pulled into the Death Star by the tractor beam, that is distinctly. You know what? I'll put that clip in here. Listen. Right here.
327. We're open to the magnetic field.
The slight changes in rhythm. The chords are almost the same. Watch. Alright. Gustav Holst, listen. It's sweet. Just like when they pulled him in with the tractor. Gustav Holst playing it sweet.
So that's the famous theme.
Know that.
So what do you think of that? I mean, how do you deny the man has stolen everything, but y'all have a hard time understanding that he stole from a 7-year-old kid too, because he didn't, nobody, you know, this thing with the Jedi Knight, nobody would know Jedi Knight if it wasn't for me. Nobody would. I asked last time, I keep wondering what would he have called it? I mean, really, what would he have called it if he didn't call it Jedi? What would he have, you know, because he wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for me. And again, y'all don't even know what it is, and whether you believe that or not. You know, I have argued with some atheist people about me dying when I was a kid twice. Actually, I died 3 times in my life. And I almost died three times before I was ever 9, but once I actually did before I was 9. And then get away from there. My dog's over here trying to get his own treats. You better behave. Anyway, you know, I'm not making the stuff up about this man. I believe in God. I believe that there's punishment for what you do in this life, and for me to sit and make up a story about someone who never did anything to me would be wrong, you know, and I know that. So if that was the case, I wouldn't be making this video, you know. I wouldn't make it up about him. And again, I told you, I don't want his money. I don't want his fame. I don't want his, because he lied to me. And I'm too old. I don't care about all, you know, I was really not, there's nothing I really want in life. I don't really want all that. What is a car? I mean, how many, you go in and go on a yacht, like, you know, I went on a couple cruises with my wife. I'm not gonna lie to you about this. My wife worked for a nice high-end dentist office before she died. They paid for her tickets a few times, and I went on cruises. You know, I did the Eastern Caribbean, Southern Caribbean, Eastern Caribbean, and Western Caribbean. So I went on 4 total. And I've seen, you know, you could go on a yacht and you could do the same things, you know. I can't see how you wouldn't get bored with that. I mean, that's not, to me, that's not real life. I mean, to me, there's nothing like getting out here in the garage and taking a piece of wood or a piece of leather or a piece of steel or a piece of glass and making something out of it that's real and tangible. And you look at it when you get done with it and you go, yeah, I'm proud of that. I'm glad I did that. And it's not false pride. It's just that you know that you put the effort into making something nice, into something, and it looked good. You know, there's something more to that than just... I wouldn't have felt the same if I'd have went out and stole Bob's, you know, wood piece out of his garage and brought it to mine and said, hey, this is a nice piece of work. I should be proud of myself for stealing it from someone else. So that's my whole point about George. There's nothing to be proud of for him. Y'all fell into that whole Star Wars thing, and we all did, really. Except in 77, I did tell my dad, hey, isn't that mine? And he goes, no, it's his. Yeah, well, my dad didn't know. He didn't know because we never told him about Jedi Knights in the Force. I never told him. I didn't even tell my brothers until we were playing Pirates in the front yard. And then me and my younger brother discussed it again, actually both my brothers, because when I went in the house and put it on paper, both of them were there. And my mom, and she told me how to spell Jedi. My younger brother remembers everything. My older brother remembers night. He doesn't. So I've got these stage of people who remember mostly. Or they get lower as you know, one remembers everything, one remembers half, one remembers none. So it's like the 3 little pigs, I guess. I don't know. It's the whole thing, you know. I don't have anything against anybody. I don't want nothing from anybody. If somebody, just the ethical side of it, if somebody come up to your kid and said, hey, I'm going to do this for you, you do this for me, and they lied to your kid, you would be pissed off about it. You would be angry. You would be mad. And you would probably hire a lawyer and take them to court. The problem, I tried that. Nobody wanted to listen to me. Of course, the problem with my case is that I didn't start remembering it until 22 years after the fact. So after you used it in Star Wars, from 77 to 99, when my mom tells this story about me falling on some toy, and that ain't what happened, because he almost killed me, his cousin almost killed me in the backyard with a piece of rebar. You have to go watch my other videos to understand that whole story. I'm not getting into the whole detail of all that happened again. But I can tell you the whole thing from the front to the back. Same thing. Nothing in my story will ever change because I know exactly what happened, you know. And to make a quick story short, and I can tell you this version right like this. We were playing Pirates in my front yard. He heard me say Jedi. He got on the phone with his cousin. He told his cousin George Lucas about it. George Lucas wouldn't leave me alone. Had him come into my house every day to get me over to get on the phone with George Lucas at his house. So he gets me on the phone. Then he almost kills me, his cousin, that day in his backyard. I run home. My parents never understood that I got injured in the backyard. They thought I fell on a tinker toy at my house, which is what happened. They took me to the hospital. I got my mouth glued back up because my palate was so ripped back. They said another quarter inch, it would have killed me. My whole palate was glued, and it was like plastic, slick. You're going to rub your tongue across it. Felt weird, and I hated that feeling. I really did. And then we moved to Florida. I put it on paper, and then it gets forgotten till 77. My dad takes us to see Star Wars. Okay, this was 74. When I put it on paper, it was 1974. When did Star Wars come out? 1977. 74, I'm in Florida, West Palm Beach, Florida. I write Jedi Knights in the Force, and I drew a picture of a car on the bottom of the page. I put it in my birth certificates because we had these sleeves. I put it up. Come back to Kentucky, we got put in a foster home because my mom was having too much of a hard time keeping up, and all of our stuff was in storage. We go in a foster home. So in 75, I was in a foster home. My dad finally come and got us out late 75. So we spent almost all of 75 in a foster home. Then, 76, we go back to my mom. 77, we go back to my dad. 77, my dad takes us to see Star Wars. 77, we're standing in line all excited about seeing it, just like all the other kids were. So there you can see. In 77, I go to the theater, go to see it with my dad. He sits there and tells him, when they were in the cave, the very first time, he says, I was a Jedi like your father, whatever he said. I always forget that line. But he go, I go, isn't that mine, to my dad? He goes, no, son, that's his. So, again, never remembered again until 1999. So again, 1999, I start to remember. I'm driving myself crazy. I moved to Port St. Lucie, Florida, which isn't the same where I lived when I was a kid. When I put it on paper, it was West Palm Beach. I go back to Port St. Lucie because I'm staying with my mother's godfather, who we used to stay with a couple times when we were kids, but he slipped and fell and broke his collarbone over Christmas on some coleslaw. Okay, so I go down there and help take care of him, and I was cooking and stuff for him, and I came back up for my mom, and we were going through paperwork in 2000. Now this is 2000. Okay, we're going through the paperwork. I pull out that sleeve, and here's that piece of paper, and I pulled it out and I go, because mom had us going through some paperwork, and I'm like, and I go, what is this? And she goes, oh, Davey drew that. And we put it back. And she said, here, let me put it back up. My nephew Davey didn't draw it. I'll say it again. I know exactly what it was. It was Jedi Knights in the Force that I drew in Florida in 1974 in West Palm Beach, Florida. Okay. Now this time I go back to Port St. Lucie. Then I came back up to Kentucky. Then I met my wife. And then I came all the way up to Ohio, got married in 2001. I was already writing him because I started to remember, like I told you, from 99 to 2000, I started remembering. By the end of 2000, I started writing him. 2001, he sends an FBI agent to my house trying to feel me out and just see, how nice I, or if I was mean, or if I, whatever. But, at that point, anyway, I stopped talking to him, stopped trying to write him, tried to talk to lawyers, talk to everybody. Nobody listened, nobody cared. But anyway, I didn't want to make this into a real long video, but I just wanted to show you that with the worm, Jabba the Hutt, isn't he a worm? Isn't it interesting? Just another example of something that might have been taken from where it wasn't supposed to be. Like I said, borrowing something like one time, it's a compliment or something, but if you keep doing it, it's plagiarism. That's what it is. And he's done it to everybody. See, that's what nobody's like, well, he only took this from me. Well, he only took this from me. Well, how many things does he have to take for any of you to do anything about it before you go, oh, well, he took everything, you know? Doesn't make any sense. And see, well, just like I told you, he figured he can just do that to a 7-year-old kid and get away with it and walk away and nothing would ever happen to him. I just wonder where Jack is right now. I keep, you know, who knows if he's even still alive. I don't know. You know, when he knows, who knows what happened to him. But, or maybe if he even remembers that, because to be honest with you, I dang near died before I remembered the truth. But, you know, I've had a lot of experiences in my life, and you know, I believe there is a God, and you're all going to find out about him, whether you like it, believe it. You think I'm crazy? Well, you think I'm crazy for believing a magic man in the sky? I think you're crazy for believing that a magic nothing created everything out of magic everything out of magic nothing. So you think about that. How did nothing create nothing out of everything, or everything out of nothing? So you think I'm crazy. Okay, that's nice. You think about that for a while. Anyway, God is real, you know, and George is going to answer for what he did. He took something that didn't belong to him. He lied to a little 7-year-old kid, and which is despicable in itself. And then knowing that in my life, the kid he stole from went through the whole gut. I walked through the gutters of Broadway, dude. I didn't go, you know what I mean? I'm telling you, I had a rough childhood. And a lot of times my mother and us, we fell through every crack in the system. If there was a crack in the system, she found it somehow. And we couldn't get help. You know, a lot of people as kids, you know, you get to a point where, you know, well, if you look at one of these kids who lives in the ghetto or in the projects, they had their rent paid like every month. They had a roof over their head. Me and my mom and my brothers, no, we didn't have them. If we didn't have our rent money, we got kicked out. And if we missed rent too many times, we got kicked out, which that did happen many times, trust me. But there was times when we had to decide, well, we either got to pay our heat and not freeze to death, or have food on the table. So none of y'all ever went through that. And I don't want to hear your talk about privilege, because you know what, it's I just you know, it wouldn't do for anyone to try to tell me I was privileged in my face, because you don't know what you're talking about. I've been through a lot of rough stuff, and this man did what he did when I was 7 years old. He can just get away with it and walk, and y'all think, you know, nothing. He's great, Mr. Star Wars. He's so great. He's a thief. I'm gonna scumbag. He's a scumbag. You're a scumbag, George. You know what I'm talking about, because you know what you did. You know, 7-year-old kid. You think you're just gonna keep? That nobody's ever gonna figure it out. No, they'll figure it out. And my brother knows. My older brother remembers some of it, and I wish I could. You know, he's a hard-working man too, and I wish he, like I was. You know, I worked until I ended up handicapped, but that's okay. It'll catch up to you, George. You know, the truth is the truth, and like Martin Luther King Jr. said, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it always curves towards justice, man. I think I was done yet? There's one more thing. Okay. A little bit more to that with the Dune. For one, what is that they smuggle in the smuggling spaces in the Millennium Falcon? Spice. There's spice. I don't know if that's the same thing that Jabba the Hutt is smoking when they go on the barge at one time. Is it the barge that he was holding that in his mouth? That really kind of just right there with the Frank Herbert, you know, Dune thing again. And again, these coincidental things. There's 2 moons, and believe me, Dune came out in 1965, so it is older than Star Wars. Okay. George didn't even have Jedi Knights until April of 1974, and then he threw it all in there. After he stole it from me, he threw it all in the. He probably had most of it written by Lee Brackett already, but then he was like, "Oh," so that's why I wish I could talk to her. I really do. I wish somebody had like her diary or something, because I'd really like to see what she said to him when he came in and told her to add Jedi Knight. Where'd you get that from? Yeah, I'm sure he told the truth about where he got it from. Anyway, I would never be telling y'all this story if it came anywhere but from me. So again, I don't make false allegations against anyone. I don't want nothing from him but the truth. The truth. That's it. He lied to a 7-year-old kid. Okay. Again, thank you all for watching. Like, share, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to hit the like button. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, but it helps me to get my video out. So if you would, please. And again, if you can share it, please do. If you don't want to, that's fine. Go watch my last video and then see what you think of it. Maybe share one of them that you do like better. But my story's always the same. It never really changed. Little minor things like the day. I still haven't quite figured out what day it was, but I got it down to. But I'm 7 years old, man. All I know was it was after Easter of 1974, because the Easter. And I looked at the calendar to figure out when Easter was, because my brother had the pirate Easter basket, which I just gave y'all a little short video of that too. He got a pirate Easter basket on the 14th of April, 1974, and it was that later that week, which Sunday we usually don't really play because school, on Monday. So we probably wouldn't have played again until Friday or Saturday. So that was the 20th, the 19th or 20th. And of course Sunday was the 21st. And then he bothered me for a whole week to get me on the phone. So I pegged the day that he took Star Wars and Jedi Knights in the Force from me. Or not Star Wars, but Jedi Knights in the Force. Was about the 27th of April of 1974. And if it wasn't that weekend, I don't really think it was in May. I don't think it was the next weekend, because I think we moved pretty soon, because I don't think we even finished our last week of school, because my parents, they were divorced and there was a lot going on. Anyway, that's when we moved to West Palm Beach, Florida, and the end of April of 1974. I don't know why this thing my charger keeps unplugging itself or something. But anyway, just consider what I'm telling you. I wouldn't make this up about anybody. I don't make up things about people. I pick anybody in the world if that was just it, but it's not the case. I could say anything about anybody, but it's not. And I have, like I said, I've got the circumstantial evidence, and the other evidence that I had was stolen from me. But I wish they hadn't stolen everything else from my childhood, along with the evidence, including my birth certificate, my diploma, and a certificate of completion from the Sears Extension Institute for its basic applications and principles of electricity and electronics when I worked for Sears and Roebuck. So that was in there too, which I'd like to have all my stuff back. That's a funny thing, and all of it was in that document sleeve. Anyway, y'all take care now.